Hi everybody, this is Pam with Jesus Junk Journals, and I am ready to continue on with this cover for this Faith Field Notes journal. And I'm going to show you what I worked on here just a little bit ago. I took a piece of this canvas and I sprayed some coffee on it, and then I took a stencil and sprayed it with this I sprayed it with the Dilutions Black Marble Shimmer Spray through the stencil, but I didn't think about the fact that it was wet from the coffee, and so it bled. So it's not as crisp as it would be if I'd waited for it to dry. I think it's still interesting, and I did this because I'm going to cut it out and sew it on the reverse side of this, on the spine. So I need to figure out how much of this I need. And I kind of wanted it rough, and yeah, it's definitely that. So I'm going to cut it and see if I can tear a piece in the right length, or thickness, I mean. See if it comes out right. This is some tough fabric. All right. And let's see. I'm going to tear this selvage off this end here. Hopefully I can tear it. I might have to cut it because it's so hard to tear, especially when you get a little narrow piece like that. Oh, there. Okay. And I can spray it out so it'll look like I tore it anyway. And then on the other end, let's see, it'll be like probably there. And I could leave it long and wrap it around to the inside, but I kind of want it to be flared out, fringed out. So I'm gonna let it be rough. And so what I did, so here's my 3 layers. I've got the fabric, I've got the baby blanket liner. This is a quilt liner for a baby blanket. If you look for it on Amazon, it's just a cotton, thin, for making a baby quilt, the inside of it. And then I have this thick canvas material. And I cut it into a rectangle. And so I laid it here, and I allowed probably 1/2 inch over on the side. I put a piece of masking tape where this spine will go, more or less. And then I moved it over here, and I'm trying to allow just a little bit of room on each side of this for the crease where it bends. And then it needs another 2 inches or so, 2 1/4, I think it was, to go around the thickness. And then that leaves this much to make a flap on the front. So what I'm going to do is take it to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew around this rectangle, just because I want this to stay together in the right place. I don't want anything to shift. And I'm going to sew this onto the other side of where this tape is, to the spine. And then I will come back and I'll be able to cut a flap then, and then sew that. But I'm going to come back before I do that. So one more thing I need to do. I told you I put this string on here to tie in a journal. And so what I also need to do that I didn't do last time is I'm going to put a piece of tape over this with some glue to hold it in place. So a piece of masking tape, and put some art glitter glue down. And this is actually gonna go this far over, which is fine. And actually, I say that, I don't think I want to do that. I'm going to cut this. I'll tell you why, because when I glue this spine into the fabric, I want it to adhere it really well, and I'm not sure that this coating on this tape is a good thing to try to stick. I don't want that between my chipboard and my fabric. So I'm going to just put this here, I think. So I'm going to tear it off and just put it on here. And that's just to keep the string in place so it doesn't pull out at any point. There, okay, I feel better about that. All right, so I'm gonna lay that aside. I'm gonna go over to the sewing machine and stitch this. So I'm gonna put this here. Right about there is where that needs to go. And then make sure I've got it straight. Okay. All right, and I think I will take a couple of pins and pin that into place with this tape, because I'm not going to sew the tape onto that. That was just a marker for me. Okay, so that's pinned to the back, and that will be the spine. Okay, so I'm going to go over there and then I'll be back. So I am back. I got it stitched and pretty good. This is a little off, but I think it's going to be okay. I didn't stitch this one end because I'm going to cut a V down here in just a minute, but I wanted to do it in 2 steps so I have it exactly the way I want it. So now I'm going to go ahead and glue, turn it around like this. So this is the cover. This will be the cover. And I'm going to glue the spine of this journal into this right here, or this right here where it's stitched. And I'm going to use Fabri-Tac, so I feel like I have more confidence in that. It is for fabric. Okay, and then I'm going to hopefully get this placed where it needs to go. Make sure this comes up where I want it. All right, so that's gonna glue to that. I'm gonna tie this for now, get it out of the way. Okay, so this is gonna come like this, and this will be the flap. And so I wanted to measure where the corners of it start to taper. So it looks like here and here. And I'm marking it, but I'm going to go on the inside and use a ruler and make sure that I've got this equal amount on each side. So I'm going to double check it. So it looks like something like 4 inches. This is off, so I'm kind of guesstimating, but it looks like 4 inches is about what it was. And I think that's what I had planned, so that works out. It's always good when it comes out the way you think it's going to. And then up here, it's like 4.5, so I'm going to come over to 4 and kind of looking at that white edge there, something like that. So then I'm going to go, this is about something like 9 inches, so the middle of that would be 4.5. So if this is 4.5-ish, I don't want it to come to a point exactly, I don't think. Let me think, do I? Well, maybe I do. So I'm going to put a pin there. I don't want to make a big heavy pencil mark. So I'll just put a pin in the middle. So what I'm going to do is go to the sewing machine and basically just sew from here to here to here. And then I'll trim it off and then I'll fray it out and that'll be done. So I'll be right back. Okay, there we go. I did my V. I don't know if you can see it. So now I'm going to take my fabric scissors and trim this back. Actually, Better tie my knots. My home ec teacher from high school, Miss Napier, taught us to always tie our strings, our threads, when we sewed. And I don't always pay attention to details, but on that I do for some reason. So it's not like this is going to get a lot of wear and tear, but I might not have gotten everything she said, but that I was there that day. I was present that day. And I'm going to allow some room for fraying. Hopefully I allowed enough room for fraying. And I put clips on this spine. I'm going to have to, I think, re-glue it and pin it, but I've got that glued. And then this is going to wrap to the front. So there's that. And then I need a button. So let me look at my buttons. Ooh, that one's a good one. It looks like bark on the outside. There's a good one. Actually, I think I'm going to use that bark one. Make sure this lines up right. Top to bottom. So the button will go right about there. And the buttonhole will go right about there. So I'm going to make a mark and a mark. And I'm going to try and cut a buttonhole and sew it by hand. And I don't think I'll sew the button on until I get that done. So I'm just going to use some white thread and do like a blanket stitch around the edges of that. I'm not sure if that's the proper etiquette for making a hand stitch buttonhole, but that's what I'm going to do. So, and I'm going to try and use a thread that doesn't show. So, so if I'm not the neatest sewer, it won't look horrible. So that's always my goal, is to not look horrible. Okay. All right, so I will come back. I'm not going to make you watch me stitch around this buttonhole. Okay, well, I got that buttonhole made by hand. It's been a long time since I tried to do that, and I think I made every mistake there is to make. So let me tell you a couple of things. Don't sew the two together when you're doing your little hand stitching. The back shows you just how rough it was. It blends in here, so it's not as rough looking. And the other thing is, make sure your button goes through it, because I sewed it too tight and had to go back and take it apart a little bit and make it big enough for the button to go through. But it's okay, it works. Doesn't look too bad from this side. My grandma would probably have a fit if she saw it, because I can remember her buttonholes that she used to have in her clothes. They were these little delicate stitches, very neatly done, evenly spaced, not like that. But anyway, it is a buttonhole, it will work, and there it is. So now all I have to do is sew the button on, and I want to make sure I allow enough room for whatever I put in the journal. So I think that should be good right there. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the button on. And do I want that to show on the back? I don't really, but actually I think I'll go ahead and do it, because it'll make it stronger if I can just sew straight through both all 3 thicknesses. So back in the olden days, we used to sew our clothes, and I have a vague recollection of making buttonholes on the sewing machine, which probably would have been a smart thing to refresh my memory on and do, but oh no, I had to do it by hand. So it took quite a bit longer, and it was a little rougher, but you can do it if you need to. All right, that ought to hold it on pretty good and tight for what I'm going to do it for. I don't think this will take a lot of wear and tear. So let me tie a double knot on here, and that is that. Okay, so there it is with the cover on it, and I think we're done, except I need to still fray these edges out, but I can do that later. So there is the button. And then I usually put a title on the front of a journal, but since this has a title page, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to leave it like this. And that is that. Now, all I have to do is go in and fill the journal. I still want to put in some of this Tim Holtz ephemera, so that will be for the next video. But there is the cover, and I'm done. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please click the like button and think about subscribing, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.